Hey, this is Jamie from CapsuleComputers.com, and today we've got a Roccat Isku and a Roccat Cone Plus here for a unboxing and review. First off, I'd like to say I know I have a terrible reputation for being unable to pronounce a lot of things, but I'm pretty sure I've got it right this time. I actually had to check up on Rockat's website on how to properly pronounce their company name. Roccat is, I guess, not the newest kid on the block, but one of the newer companies getting involved in gaming PC hardware, or specifically in accessories. Now, the Roccat Isku and the Roccat Cone is a little unique in the sense that these are, I guess what you would call a bonded pair. You can use them on their own, but they were actually designed to be used together using the Roccat Talk firmware / driver system. So, since they are a bonded pair, I thought it would be appropriate that we review them together, which will make a bit of a longer review and unboxing, but I think it'll be worth it. So, let's just start off with unboxing the cone over here. Let's put this aside for a moment. So, here we go. It's a pretty common looking box in the sense that I've been seeing a lot of high-end gaming mice being packaged like this. Nice little back here, and the magnetic opening box here. So we get a little bit of information, but I suppose you're more curious about what's in here, so let's dig this open right now. Alright, so here we got all the instruction manuals, which I'm sure a majority of you will not actually look at. But for those like me who actually like reading instruction manuals, it's actually worth taking a look. So we have the Roccat ID card here. Will let you into the Roccat community. They have a special closed gate community for device owners on their website. And here's the quick installation guide, which seems actually to be pretty thorough. Alright, let's put that aside, and here we have the mouse itself. Okay, so here is the Roccat Cone Plus. It's definitely not an ambidextrous mouse, as you can see. If you're a lefty and you like to use your mouse with your left hand, you're going to be out of luck. Just out of a demonstration so far, it's pretty comfortable. It's probably a larger size mouse. I know I have abnormally tiny hands, so for me, it's pretty much a handful, but for most people, chances are it's going to be pretty average. Larger people should be probably able to use a mouse as a claw, but we'll get into this a little more into the review. Alright, let's crack open the Isku keyboard here. This is a little big. I had to do this part off camera. Alright, here we go. Oh, that's pretty, I guess, Apple in design. And here, just plain box. Alright, and here we are. Oh, nice. Properly sealed and in what looks like a giant anti-static bag, which I do appreciate. No one likes a dead-on arrival piece of equipment. We have another Roccat quick start guide here. Let's get these boxes out of the way. Alright, here you have it. Extremely well packed and well protected, I must say. It's a regular style keyboard. And we've got these little, I guess you would call them modifier keys here. And we have our media keys up here, and brightness settings and macro recording. And we have 5 macro keys over here. So let's skip over here with a little bit of movie magic and move straight into our review. And we're back. Alright, I've had some time to work with the Roccat Isku and the Roccat Cone Plus, and I've got to say I've been really impressed so far. Let's just first kick it off with the Roccat Cone Plus. I've got it plugged in here right now just to show off the lighting. I've got it set to cycle through the lighting colors as quick as possible. I really enjoyed the very soft feel of it, of this coating. It's really, it's powdery smooth. The one thing I did notice is that you can't really see it. I'm going to try to bring this up as close as possible. I don't think it's actually even, oh, you can see it a little bit right here. There is barely. Let's see, get this focused here. Come on. Yeah, well, you can barely see it, to be honest, but you can definitely feel the minor imperfection. There's about 3 of them just scattered here, but you don't really notice it unless it's actually under your fingertip, and of course after that, it's like one of those things where once you feel a little imperfection, your finger always attaches to it. Feels the need to like feel it and attach to it, and I found that a little annoying, but overall the finish was actually pretty good. The one thing I noticed about the lighting is it's very nice in the sense that it's not so bright that it's going to be distracting if you're in a dark room. However, if you notice, as you can see, the lighting jumps a little when it goes from one light to another. You can probably see it it'll just kind of like hop, and it's rather noticeable. It's a little less noticeable. Yep, you see it right there. It's a little less noticeable when you're working on a very slow light change, but if that bothers you, you can always just have it set to a single color. I really like the fact that you could set separate profiles to different colors, so I could see that, you know, my FPS profile was set to orange, my RTS profile is set to green, and so forth and so forth and so forth. Fit-wise, I actually found it really comfortable. It's a really light mouse. I actually didn't notice this when I unboxed it, just to show you how much of a really off-the-cuff first look at when I unbox these things, but I didn't actually notice that it comes with a little weight box, and as you can see here, there's two 5-gram weights I've got loaded in here, but they come in with a total of 4 5-gram weights, which adds to about a total of 20 grams. The Roccat lists this as 126 grams without the cable. I think that's 126 grams without the weight. But if you really like really heavy mice, because you come, whether, I don't know why, specifically maybe you just really liked the heft, or you've come from a wireless mouse background, if you really like the heavy mouse, this might be a little too light for you even after the 20 grams. Personally, as you can see, I've got 10 loaded up here, and I'm perfectly happy with that weight. I found the thumb buttons were really easily accessible. They're a very comfortable position, and as you can see, I've got the easy shift key bound to the bottom one here. If you press this easy shift key, you can see a nice change color to let you know that your macros are set differently. The only button I found to be really tough to get to was this top button right here. I know I have really tiny hands comfortably. I tend to hold it like this. So I actually had to shift forward to hit this button. But personally, I didn't really bind this to anything important, so it wasn't a big deal. But for those who are playing MMOs and really want to get every single button out of their mouse, it might be a problem. Well, the macros, I really liked it. Like this macro system. The drivers are really, really impressive. They're very thorough, lots of controls. You can set your DPI to however you want it, up to the 6000, and there's lots of controls and tweaking for the sensitivity. You can tweak it regular sensitivity, or you can even set it to anywhere between -5 to +5 on the separately on the XY axis. Additionally, the one thing I really do like about this mouse is this is great for MMO gamers who don't want massive amounts of buttons like certain MMO mouse out there. With the easy shift key, you're literally almost doubling the amount of buttons you can set. So by holding this easy shift key, or even the easy shift key on the keyboard on the Isku, if you have both of them, you're literally saying, okay, now that this button is set, you're modifying any button you press from here on in. I loved it, and the macro recording capabilities on the drivers was very easy to do. It was similar to hitting a record button like that over there. You could just record it within the drivers, or if you liked something a little more fine-tuning, you can always go into the macro manager and you'll get to see a really nice advanced macro control system that is very similar to any audio editing or creation software, the timeline tracks that you'll see. The only little niggle software-wise that really confused me is that you need to have one of these, the Isku, to get, I guess, what you would call an easy aim mode, where you hold down a button, let's say I did a Q, and it would temporarily lower the sensitivity of the mouse so I can make really accurate sniping shots or whatever I need it to be. I really didn't understand why this couldn't have been bound to one of these mouse keys, to be honest, but it seems in practice for how many years now that I've actually had a mouse that could do this, I've maybe used it 3 or 4 times. But however, if you're really big into using a sniper rifle in certain games and you like that sort of feature, your mileage may vary on this. One last thing about the drivers, it actually comes with both of these actually come with the Roccat voice from the advertising to declare when you change or lower the sensitivity settings or the DPI settings, or if you switch profiles, and even if you change the volume, your system volume through the mouse. I personally, sometimes I found it a little too vocal, so I mean, it was very easy to turn it off or lower the volume. However, being able to switch through profiles of the mouse, I thought was and hear it on my computer, it was actually really handy, so I would know that, now I don't have to look down to see that the profile color has changed. See, I'm changing profile here, and the color has changed. It was nice, so I don't have to look down and just to double check that, in fact, yes, my profile has changed. Anyways, moving on to overall, anyways, so in the end, I give this mouse a 9 out of 10 capsules. So let's move on to the Isku. If you give me a second here, and I'll plug this up so you can see all the pretty colors. Alright, we should hopefully this, yep, there we go. Alright, the Roccat Isku. As you can see, unlike the mouse, it doesn't change colors, it's only a blue. It's a nice, they call it an ice blue, I like to call it a slightly darker powder blue, but, we're splitting hairs here. As you can see, this has medium height keys. You can see it's not quite as high as, say, a regular keyboard, but it's not as low as those laptop keyboards. I personally found it was a great height. I'm used to using a mechanical keyboard. I will admit I'm a huge fan of mechanical keyboards, and I was a little kind of leery. Maybe it's just mechanical snobbishness or whatnot. I was going to think, oh god, I'm going to hate this just because it's not mechanical. And it turned out, actually, I really enjoy typing on this. It was a very pleasant experience. It took a little more force to hit a key. Than a mechanical keyboard, but as you can see, it has a very nice thunk to it. It's not really crazy loud, but it is definitely a very strong audible feedback. Typing on it was very comfortable thanks to this wrist rest. I know the wrist rest is huge, and I really prefer removable wrist rests, but this wrist rest was just so comfortable. I had no issue typing on this for hours and hours on end, which was really nice. The macro manager for the Isku is practically the same as the one for the Cone. They're both very powerful. The only thing is I found with Isku, because there are so many different things that you can bind macros to, I was actually really intimidated when I first installed it and opened it up, because not only can these 5 macro keys here and these 3 macro keys here be bound to a macro key, if you hit the easy shift button, as you can see, the easy shift button is just queuing over here, from everything roughly around here can be macroed. So that adds like about another approximately, I think, was 20 keys. For me, this is great. I have tiny hands. I know one of the biggest issues when I was PvPing in World of Warcraft consistently was the fact that my eyes are on the screen, and because my hands are so tiny, the most I can reach for comfortably and know that I'm going to hit it every time is about 5. But obviously for me, with certain classes, you need more than just Q, E, X, Z, these kind of keys nearby to do everything at the right time without having to peck and choose with a mouse. So for me, having these keys that I could just quickly hit an easy shift and practically double my macros was absolutely amazing. Another thing I really, really, really liked is the fact that, you know, these little ridges that you can see. Let's bring it up here. You see on the F key right there, there's a little ridge. These ridges, of course, come on every keyboard to let touch typists know where your home key is. Well, if you can see here on the W key, Roccat has actually added one on the W key, which is really great. It's just like a little nice physical feedback to know where your hand is to get back to the ever so important WASD keys. I was a smaller hand, so for me it's a little bit of a stretch to hit these thumb keys, but they're actually positioned in a very comfortable position. By default, you can actually switch profiles with these, but really with the program, with the driver program, you can switch it to whatever and however you want. Then on the same thing with all the function keys up here and the multimedia keys up here. There's also a record button to quickly record macros, and both the record and changing profiles will pop up a audio cue on the drivers, which you can turn off and on as you wish. And on top of it, there's the automatic. As you can see, the brightness is changing. That should be about the highest brightness. But the one thing I did like about the keyboard illumination is there's actually an idle timer that you can set. That if you're idle for a certain period of time, the lights can be turned completely off, or it can be dialed down a little, which is really great for somebody, say, if you sleep in the same room as your gaming rig and you're not really a huge fan of lots of lights. It's just an easy way that you can just walk away and it'll turn off on its own and it's not going to bother you while you sleep. Also, of course, there's always the people who are worried about how much power they consume, and turning off, I mean, it's not much of a huge light difference. These are LED lights and they don't consume that much energy to run, but at the same time, every little bit helps. As you can notice, this is a bit of a big keyboard, so make sure if you do have enough space, if you have a tiny desk. I mean, it's not as big as some of the keyboards I've seen. For example, the old ancient Logitech G15 that really made with the 3 sets of macro keys. I mean, this keyboard is not that big, but still, with the wrist rest, it does make it a little big. One thing that, you know, some people love, some people don't love, as you can see, these are just really big fingerprint magnets. For some people, they don't really care. They keep it clean and it looks really nice. Other people, they may not like it. But, of course, that's up to you. back to the drivers. On the drivers, you can, of course, these easy shift keys with working with the Cone Plus, they work together. So if I press the easy shift here, it will work as if I press the easy shift key on the mouse, and vice versa. One last thing, that on the drivers you can actually disable the these two keys, the left shift key, this home key, this Windows key, by profile. So if you set it that your gaming profile disables all the Windows keys, then no matter what, you're not going to accidentally alt-tab out of your game. Speaking of alt-tab, the tab key too can be disabled in case you really like to use the alt key. Personally, sometimes I've seen some with physical switches. I think the profile system to disable it is a lot better, because I knew when I used keyboards that had physical gaming switches, I had a tendency to not really remember to flick it on and off before I started a game. However, by binding it to the profile, when you boot into a game and the Roccat driver detects that the exe has been booted up and puts it to the right profile, you're never going to have that issue of accidentally hitting the home key when you didn't mean to. So overall, I'm a really huge fan of the Isku. In fact, I like the Isku so much, I'm giving it a 10 capsules out of 10. Personally, if you're using an Isku, I highly recommend using another Roccat mouse that supports Roccat Talk. The Roccat Talk is actually a lot handier than I initially expected. And the best part about this keyboard that I have yet to talk about, which I think is amazing, is there is no caps lock button on this thing. This is sheerly for the Roccat Easy Shift. There is no caps lock. Of course, if you really wanted to, you can bind one of these macro to caps lock. But honest to God, how many of us have actually used the caps lock key to do anything these days, for the exception of maybe doing the equivalent of screaming at someone on the internet? But frankly, I found I had a lot less accidental caps lock and then typing a whole bit in caps and then forgetting, whoops, caps lock's on. So overall, I've been very impressed with the Roccat Isku and the Roccat Cone. So if you want to check out more information on these, I strongly recommend going down and below and checking out my written review of the Roccat Isku and the Roccat Cone Plus. So that's all we have for today, and just a reminder to check us out at www.capsulecomputers.com.